Hi, I'm Zach.
And I'm Josh.
And this
This
is
is
a
a
pineapple. Wow! Oh my goodness, what a ride. Dude, we just finished Chapter 9 of The Mandalorian.
Yes.
Season 2, I think, is off to a great start. It's visually stunning and all that, but Josh, there is one main question about it that we still have to answer. Is it
this
the way? So, fellow nerds, like I just said, we have a lot of thoughts on how this first episode, this kickoff, if you will, is going about. So, let's get right into it. Josh, what is the first topic you think we need to really pinpoint on how this show is going and what it might mean for the rest of the show?
The first thought. Well, before the most important parts, I think we're gonna touch. I want to touch on the dialogue. I think.
Okay.
It's very important to the show. Not necessarily important to the story.
Yeah, it's most certainly important to the story, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. I mean, it's not important. It's not like out there important to the story. Like exactly. It's more important to the story than you would think. However, anyways, let's get to that. I think the dialogue for the most part in this episode was okay. Again, most of the characters, there's actually not much talking. It's a lot of action, which is great. I love the Mando kicking people's butts style.
Right.
And, Mando doesn't talk much anyways, but his lines are great, and they always actually have meaning behind them. They never don't have meaning behind them.
Very short, to the point.
Unless he's chasing after the child. In that case, he's like, hey, get back here.
Knock it off.
Yeah. So let's talk about the townsfolk for a second. I don't mind them. Whenever you have townsfolk in a show or a movie, they are usually boring. They don't usually have much to say, and I feel like their lines don't deliver as hard as say the main character.
Okay. Really hinders us getting really into the moment and into the scene.
Right. Exactly. Can you blame the directors for that though? Because that's just a common thing amongst all media, whether it be Star Wars, Marvel, DC, any townsfolk, any side characters that have like a one-liner. Does that mean anything for the story? How does that affect the story like long term? It doesn't really affect it long term, I think.
Not really. I'd say that it's pretty standard that if you have very side characters like the townsfolk or like even the guy who was running the bar in the beginning and throughout the episode, that alien-looking dude. It's very self-explanatory. That's like these people are a part of the story, but it's not about them. So it's not as important to make sure that they're giving the best lines, obviously. However, because of that, if you don't have more three-dimensional lines and three-dimensional dialogue, they just come off as the two-dimensional, oh, they're just a town's character. And sometimes it could really pull you out of the plot.
Yeah, exactly. But I think, like you said, I don't think the townsfolk pull you out of the plot. If it was worse, if they had more lines that just were sort of stale, probably, but they were just there just enough where it didn't affect you. Speaking of the town, we're going to talk about the marshal, because we both have some thoughts on that, like we like to discuss with the camera.
Hi, camera. No audience.
No audience.
Nobody's
just
gonna
the
see
camera.
us. Just the camera. Our good
So,
old camera.
The marshal. He's not a bad character. Towards the beginning, he could have been a little iffy, right? But towards the end,
I didn't
think,
like him in the beginning at all.
I didn't dislike
First half, I was watching him, and I was just like, he's a scrawny kid. Somebody needs to give him a bowl of porridge. That's just my opinion.
Porridge. How is porridge gonna help him? Like a big fat
he walks in.
Ewok steak.
He walks in with, obviously, Boba Fett, praise be to him, Boba Fett's armor. And as soon as you see him, you go, and then you go, that's not Boba Fett. It's a scrawny kid.
Right, and that makes...
But then he takes off the helmet, and it's not a scrawny kid.
He's like a Western...
He looks like this Western, it's like all he cares about is his face and his head. That's all he tries to take care of. He gets up in the morning, he fixes that, and he forgets to shower the rest. So that's a visual thing, and there's nothing wrong with skinny people. Just disclaimer there.
Yeah.
But aside from the visual appearance, I don't know.
Well, with him wearing Boba Fett's armor, let's go off of that. That makes you initially hate the character. The fact that this guy walks in, you think he's Boba Fett, and then you're like, wait a second, no, that's not. And then he talks, and then he's not Boba Fett, and then if you have subtitles on, you see his name, which I did. I always have subtitles. But and then he sits down, takes the freaking helmet off, and he's not Boba Fett, right?
Right.
That makes you initially hate the character, doesn't it? No,
I don't
there's
think
no
so.
fact
No,
about
it wasn't.
It does.
No,
A little bit.
It wasn't because I hated the character. It's because I didn't like. Okay, fine, you're right. I didn't like him wearing Boba Fett's armor.
Exactly.
I didn't like him. As a character, and as they built him up, as the episode went on, he did grow as a character.
Yep.
Like he didn't just
He
stay
actually
as this
grew in that
cocky
episode.
two-dimensional
He
character.
actually
Yeah.
grew in that one episode.
And by the end of it, I liked him, and it was cool. But it was that initial. This is who's wearing Boba Fett's armor.
Yeah.
This is the guy.
This is where it's
So
gone to.
I guess no, you're totally right there. Yeah.
So, with that being covered, what do you think we should cover next?
So I think the next thing that I want to talk about, and I really want to touch on, is their use of CGI
Okay.
in this last episode.
That's good.
Like CGI versus actual props, actual puppets. Like, obviously we don't have the gallery out yet, so we
Yeah.
don't know. But the crate dragon, like, was that complete CGI, or was some of it a puppet? What do you think? Because it looked gosh darn real. Like,
Right. There might have been parts where it was puppet. Definitely a lot of CGI, especially coming out of the mountain.
Which, yeah.
The hill, the dirt.
Even when he blew up,
The sand,
obviously that was
When he
CGI.
blew up.
Yeah.
The question is, when he was just dragging along the dirt with the Tusken Raiders, was that part? Obviously, there's some CGI in there just so you can touch up sand particles and sand effects. But was that an actual rig that they had?
Right.
And coming in, watching the gallery, you've watched the gallery, right? Coming in, they use the screen room, right? And they have like a set, but there's the screens, right? So would they have that rig inside of that set, or did they go to film that somewhere else?
That's a very good question.
That's the question.
I look forward to
Is the
finding
crate
that out.
dragon full CGI? I don't know. That's really hard, and we won't really know until
I think there's
gallery.
I think they also might have done this thing where they did half and half, where it's like, we're going to use an initial puppet, but then we're going to do the classic thing where we're going to add CGI onto the puppet to make it look very pristine real. Because, like, you have a scene like that, which was fantastic, and, like, when the crate dragon was blown up, he was actually dead.
That was the set piece when
That was a set piece. It was very clearly a set piece, right? Like, so what I'm trying to get at here, let's rewind. Amazing CGI, amazing set design, amazing puppets as of so far, right? Except the beginning
here
scene.
it is.
The beginning scene.
This is what I
when
almost forgot
he
to talk
walks
about.
in and they have the wrestling match.
This is the worst bit. I
And
think
you
of-
have the two, you have the
even
two,
prequels,
the pigs.
originals. This is the worst bit of Star Wars, like real CGI. It doesn't matter. This is the worst bit.
Well, 'cause
Personally,
they were costumes.
again, not just thinking off the top of my head. This is the worst. You continue.
Yeah, so they have they have
guards.
the
the Garuvian guards.
Yeah. They have the Garuvian guards, and well, they're not guards in this case. They're like
Fighters.
cage match people. Yeah. And they're fighting, and like I couldn't get past it because as they were fighting, you could tell that the reason they couldn't move efficiently was because their rubber, very clearly rubber helmets and mask, they were going like this. They were going like this. There was no detail to them whatsoever. They didn't look real. They didn't sell me at all. That would be, I think, my biggest problem with this episode was
Not only
them.
the heads, but their skin wasn't detailed. It was just chubby men. That's yeah.
Right.
Just
You're
men,
good.
guy like me. They just shaved down and chucked paint on. And again, I like the effort of trying to make it look like original Star Wars prequel, original, like not using a lot of CGI. I definitely like the effort. However, it didn't look real. It looked fake. And with puppets, obviously you can tell.
Obviously.
You can tell with puppets that it's a little fake,
Yeah.
but you still actually have a bit of belief.
Right.
But with this,
they
like,
all
you
look-
can
they all
tell
look
it's
real.
painted.
Like, and I don't mean to cut you off, but they all look real throughout the show, and that's one thing that Star Wars has been very good about is blending the old with the new. Because you watch the original trilogy, and they do look real, in a sense. Like, you can kind of tell their costumes and puppets and whatnot, but even there in Jabba's palace, and throughout Star Wars with the other puppets, they looked real. And there it looked like they just slapped on whatever thing they bought at Spirit Halloween.
Yes.
And that was my biggest problem
exactly.
was They always have pristine old tech and pristine CGI, and they do a beautiful job of meshing it together. The rest of the episode, beautiful
Even
job.
everything-
It was just that scene.
Everything else in that episode, in that beginning part, was good too.
Absolutely.
Actually, except more of that Rivian guard fight. I have another thing. It's everything else. The CGI was great. This is one part that I don't exactly understand, and maybe in the gallery they're going to explain it, or maybe it's just not explained, and maybe I don't understand. Maybe someone can tell me.
Okay.
But when they're hitting each other, they're banging off the axe, and there's this weird blued sound wave that's coming off of it. And it's like, is it like is it like literally that their axes have tech and they're like blast thing, or is it just weird effects that the nature of the axes hitting each other? In that case, it looks terrible.
Right.
Absolutely terrible.
Well, and I think, and by all means, if anybody knows or has info on this,
I
tell us in the comments
I need
section.
to know.
I totally agree. Because
Shush.
if you remember in season 1, Mando's knife or his dagger, same thing. It
Right.
did that glowy vibration thing, and that made sense because
So-
that was their tech, that was
Right.
their stuff.
It's just
But
not
it
being
almost seems
explained.
like they used that same stuff and copied and pasted for the axes. So I wonder if there was an actual reason, or if John Favreau and the guys were just like, "Oh, this is a cool thing. We're going to use it to make it more continuity." Because I agree, it felt a little off. The entire scene felt a little off. It felt a lot off, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Alright guys, I think the next thing I want to talk about is what's most important about a TV show, and that is the storytelling. How does this continue off of the first season? Was this a good show opener? All of those factors, how does this continue the season? Is this a good opener after watching the first season? Doesn't answer any questions. No, it doesn't. Let's talk about it anyways. It doesn't answer any questions.
Doesn't answer any questions.
No.
No.
It doesn't.
No, it doesn't. Okay.
And it answers that John Favreau's a jerk and likes to drag things on like a good boy.
That
And I'm
John
not
Favreau-
complaining about it because it's great.
I hate his pristine storytelling.
I hate how detailed and careful he's about.
Takes
story.
his time.
Takes his time. Make sure people know. Yeah.
He does everything in his power to make sure it's not a Last Jedi. Why would he do that?
I
Take
don't
it
know.
seriously.
Why can't?
I don't want to talk about it in the first episode. Not in the first episode. We're not gonna go there.
What, The Last Jedi?
Don't even speak.
Yeah, we're just not.
Don't even speak.
We're gonna take this time now. We were.
This is
gonna
about the
do something-
Mandalorian.
We're gonna
Season 2.
but we gotta tell people about something very important.
Okay.
We're gonna do this later on in another video, but we're
Or
not
not.
gonna talk about The Last Jedi ever. Just so you know, and that's it. Okay, so storytelling.
Do you want to start?
We just started. That was the entire intro to storytelling right there.
Okay. And action. So, Josh, what did you think about the storytelling in chapter 19? Anyways, 5, 4, 3. This will be like a bleep section.
You just counted down, and then you said this bleep section. Oh my gosh.
Okay, so
That's it. Just start.
the most important aspect of everything. The most important aspect of storytelling, I would beg to differ.
I think that's right. We're probably gonna get made fun for it. It's okay. Just keep going.
The most important thing when it comes to storytelling is storytelling. Would you agree? I would agree.
I had a
So,
brain fart. But
oh
yes,
boy,
sure.
when I need to start this scene over, that's okay. One of the most important aspects of storytelling is storytelling. So,
Mhm.
I think personally that it's amazing storytelling so far, all around. I think that they had a very good intro scene with Mando himself. With Mando himself going in, how they introduced his character, how they introduced the child, and they made it very clear what they were supposed to do. They made it clear early on, but they didn't rush it. And I think that's Jon Favreau's key thing that he keeps doing, is he doesn't rush things. Did they answer any questions?
Nope.
No. But they didn't disappoint
I
in not
think-
answering questions.
Right. That's
What would you
something. That's something that's important to me. Watching anything, and it's a thing that is a downfall of a lot of shows
And movies.
and movies.
Absolutely.
They rush things out. Justice League, for instance, obviously the directors got mixed up. There was things that got mixed up in the whole entire process.
Mhm.
But that movie was rushed out. They were trying to do a big Avengers event, and they rushed out a movie, and it wasn't good because they rushed all these characters into one.
It wasn't great. It wasn't great. I don't know if you differ on this.
It wasn't
great.
It
but
wasn't absolutely a bomb, but it wasn't great.
Mhm. Talk about that in another video.
Exactly.
Another video.
We will touch on that more. But with that being said, Jon Favreau, in a lot of things, Iron Man, because he was part of Marvel, he storytells so well. He doesn't just throw things out. He knows. He wants to make this last as long as possible.
Yep.
And how do you do that without making your show run stale and become boring? You make those episodes just last long. You drown out those episodes, and not in a bad way. You make them interesting, but you don't give a lot of story. You give, hey, Boba's back, right? And he's trying to find a Mandalorian, not Boba. Mando's back in season 2, and he needs to find another Mandalorian, right? That's spoilers if they haven't.
Ooh, spoilers.
Anyways,
Spoiler alert! This should have been at the beginning of the video.
Far too late.
It's still
It's
at the
far too late.
You know,
Boba's
they
back.
saw the thumbnail.
Boba's back!
They saw...
Oh, I'm talking to them inside the camera.
Hey,
You
Dave!
can't see them. You can see them?
Mm-hmm. It's Dave.
I can't.
Hey, Dave! Give a big
Just-
shout out in the comment section, otherwise we'll block you.
Just Dave. Who's Dave?
We'll find out.
Dave.
Jon Favreau does an amazing job, I think, at really dragging the story out, but not dragging it out. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't answer any questions.
Yep.
Except
None that we actually know.
None
Who
that we
knows?
actually know.
Who
Like,
knows? Maybe they just
we know that he needs to find his kind, he needs to return the child, and he knows where he needs to go next.
Yep.
That's all we know at the end of the episode.
He doesn't even really know where he needs to go next.
Not really. Not really. He just knows.
According to them, we haven't watched episode 2 yet, but we're doing this a week after, so it's episode 2. Alright, I'm in chapter 10.
Chapter 10?
Yeah, but we're on chapter 9, so we're pretending that we haven't watched chapter 10 yet.
Okay. We haven't watched chapter 10 yet.
No.
But
So,
yeah, he doesn't even really know where he's going yet. And they picked it up. They lifted it off the ground. That's all they've done. We still know nothing. So we have this really weird sense of we're satisfied,
but we're not.
but we're starving. We want
Right.
more. Like
And
what's going on
That
next?
is exactly what good storytelling should do, and what it did in chapter 9.
Which leads us to our next point. Did you, Joshua, feel hooked at the end of the episode? Are you looking forward to more?
Not at all. I just want to stop watching the show.
No?
It's
Yeah.
a pile of... No, it's great.
Oh.
I am absolutely looking forward to the next episode, and we have watched episode 2, so this is just on chapter 9.
We're a little late.
We have watched chapter 10. It was great. Different video.
Next
So,
video.
absolutely hooked off of that first episode. I can tell you because I remember.
Yeah.
Absolutely hooked off of that first episode. We were so hyped. Yesterday when we watched it, we were so hyped to watch chapter 10. So excited.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
now that we've
Mandalorian
watched
stuff.
chapter 10, we're so excited to watch
Yeah.
even more and see where it goes. Again, after the second episode, we still don't know anything.
Mm-hmm. But next video.
That's the next
But no,
video.
I totally agree. Mandalorian, and this goes back to season 1, not just this one. This season. Mandalorian's the first show I've watched in a long time where at the end of the episode I go, no! No, we need more! We need more right now! Right now! Like, I haven't had that feeling in so long, especially for Star Wars.
I
like,
personally...
oh my goodness,
I
like
can't
it leaves you.
personally remember the last show that was for me. I could probably go in and,
Right.
and say it. There's a couple shows that I've been watching recently that might have done that, but not as hard.
No, right. There's been good shows. I've
I've-
enjoyed shows that I've watched recently, but especially because it's Star Wars and we all know how much Star Wars means to all of us, like, this is really the first time in, like, what, 5 years that we can safely say, oh my goodness, I left this expecting more, being totally satisfied, and just at the edge of my seat the entire time, like, what's going to happen next? You're engaged in it, and it, all around, Jon Favreau is not disappointing, I think, so far. I think so.
Yeah, exactly.
It's only good to come, I think. Well,
Hopefully.
I personally have a few worries, but we'll get to that momentarily.
Yes. Alright guys, so now let's catch up with Mando and the child. We've talked a lot about this episode so far, but how are Mando and the child doing? What are they doing? What is their relationship like? How does it continue to prosper? How are they using the child? How are they using Mando in this new season?
Yeah. So, I think I'll lead this off real quick. Mando hasn't really had a whole lot. Oh, no, actually, I changed that. I think Mando's made another leap character-wise, and I don't think it's something that's like, oh, this is the biggest leap character ever. It's more or less subtle things, like when he lands on Tatooine, he lets the droids fix his ship.
Yep.
So it really shows, oh, wow, he has at least...
immense character development there.
Yeah, at least some kind of trust for droids, because before it was like the entire show, no way, Jose. Like he wouldn't have it. And then at the end with the assassin droid, he actually felt bad, it saved him, all that tear-jerking stuff.
Yeah.
So now it's evident that it's like, oh, okay, maybe they're not so bad. He's moving on as a character, which is really kind of cool. And aside from that, I'd actually say, I mean, not that there's not character development, but it's a continuation
To add on to
just
that,
of the same characters.
there doesn't necessarily need to. And again, touching on what we literally just talked about, that is not a bad thing. They are slowly developing these characters, and that in the long run is good because it means we're going to get more Mando, but slower, and it's not going to become boring. At least I hope
it's not going to become boring. It's not going to be rushed. It's not going to be, oh, he hates droids one day, he just doesn't anymore. I didn't feel that transition. I felt like they really did a good job at dragging it out.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. What did you think about the child?
I don't mind the child. Again, like when we watch it with our family, right? So everyone's going the oohs and the ahs when he makes the cute little things, and I do sometimes. I'll admit.
Sometimes.
All the time, maybe.
Okay.
But I think the child's a very good contribution, and I think season 2 is going to be all about him. But
already.
Even already. But here's the big kicker, and this is what's important. He can't talk. He can coo and make sounds with his hands and his mouth and go use the Force, but sometimes. But he can't talk. He can't add dialogue. He can make cute dialogue and he can interact with things. But when he can't talk, you can't have him in scenes where he just doesn't do anything and just like sits there, right?
Body language only goes so far.
Right. So for right now, he's just there making the sounds, and Mando's the one who's finding out things, or he probably will be. Again, we have to assume that hopefully they are going to find some stuff out.
Right. Yeah.
Or maybe they're not finding stuff out, but whatever has to do with Baby Yoda, it's Mando that's taking in this information, and Baby Yoda's sort of sitting there clueless because he's a child, but Mando is taking in this information as a father figure to the child. So I think the child pretty much has as much as a role as he did in the last season, which which is okay.
I only slightly disagree. Not because you're wrong, just because different perspective on that. I actually think that they're continuing like they did with the first season, where the child isn't just a cute character trope, which he's kind of becoming one. There's a lot of merchandise, a lot of marketing.
Yep.
That's to be expected, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. However, he did come off to me much more in this last episode as, I'm just kind of there and I'm cute, even though the story was about him. Like it felt a little bit like we're moving past the story is a great deal about him. It felt a lot less. He was just kind of there in this last episode, and granted, it's just the first episode. This could change, like...
in the second episode, which we
in
definitely haven't watched yet.
Right. When we watch it, we can speak more.
Speak
more to that, but he just kind of felt like he was there, which, at the same time, you could make the argument for that's good, because they are building story, it is slow, we've gone over all that already, so, like, they're not rushing it.
And we haven't found a whole lot more about Baby Yoda.
Right.
Or his role in the story. So it's likely he has much more to contribute yet.
Right.
When he has more to contribute...
We're not critiquing him. We still love the child, but I definitely hope that they build on him more, and he's not just the cute character that they continue to have. Because, personal opinion, I don't think that really adds to the story. Like, it's nice every now and again, but so many franchises have done it at this point with so many characters. Like, it's just kind of... I want to move past that. I want him to contribute to the story, because Season 1, he contributed so much, and he made an impact on all of us, not just being cute. So, do you have anything to add to that? Or
I completely agree. You took the words right out of my mouth hole.
Took them right out of your mouth hole.
Yep.
Remember that. What did you think of the new characters? Anything special? They were mainly side characters. Most of the new characters were side characters, aside from Disney Theme Park Ripley.
So, we have touched on those characters. So, I'm thinking we talk about the Tusken Raiders.
Okay.
It is very, very odd to me, but it was so cool to see it in.
So it's actually funny. I mostly agree with you with everything you said. I paused. I pause a lot. Wow.
It's okay.
It's a lot of big breaths you have to
Use me
take
room
with this series.
for me to interrupt you. Really.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Okay, so let's get back into it. My biggest hopes is honestly what they're going to do with the ancient group of warriors known as the Jedi. That I hope they kind of delve into that. Not like I don't expect Luke Skywalker to be in it, obviously, because
I'm gonna say a little bit.
a
I
little
don't know
bit.
about you, but I don't want a lot of it.
No. Oh no, I'm getting to that. I'm getting to that. Well, it's one of my biggest hopes is that they will do it right. That they'll bring it in, like they'll at least touch upon. This is the new Jedi Order. About 7 years after New Republic, all that fun stuff. Obviously, the new Jedi Order that Luke Skywalker's rebuilt. Will Luke Skywalker be in it? 99% sure he won't.
Yeah.
But even being said, I hope they give a good interpretation of this new Jedi Order. I hope they stay far away from things they've kind of done in the past that we don't have to go into. I also hope that's where the child ends up.
Yes.
Just my personal opinion. I know a lot of people want him to become a Mando. I kind of want him to become a Jedi. I think that'd be cool.
Talked about this, and I think
From foundling to youngling. I mean,
we can talk about this in an entire video. So
Yeah.
look forward to Mando or Jedi.
Mando or Jedi, the child.
It might not be the title.
Yeah.
Um,
That's what I feel about that. As for the other characters, as of right now, I look forward to see the characters
Yes.
that are confirmed.
yes.
I do agree with you that I'm a little worried that it'll become more about them and less about Mando. As much as I like showcasing, I think too much showcasing and it becomes about them.
Yep.
And I have nothing against them having their own show even. Like let's expand the universe. However, this is ultimately a show about Mando.
Yep.
I want him to have his own thing. What I want is for them to play their part to help him and the child and then have that be their part in the show. And then Mando continues with what Mando needs to do. That's just what I think. But what do you guys think? Comment. Do you want Ahsoka, Sabine to be a big part of the show, or do you want them to just kind of play their part and continue on and tell us we're interested?
So, that being said, you guys are all wondering, and I have accidentally said it, but maybe we're going to cut it out. It doesn't matter. We're going to talk about the elephant in the room, or the
Darksaber.
That wasn't in the first episode, not chapter 9.
Yep.
That
No, it wasn't.
not-
It wasn't. Continue.
Or rather known as the Mandalorian in the room, or not actually a Mandalorian, a fake Mandalorian wearing a Mandalorian armor because his dad was a Mandalorian, even though his dad wasn't really a Mandalorian. That's a topic for another time, but the man,
The
Boba
myth,
Confetti.
the legend.
He's
Boba Confetti.
Boba Confetti. Boba Fett, guys. He is back, technically not really confirmed. So, we'll talk about this for a little bit as this last part of this video. Closing out here. As announced, because we have seen Chapter 10 as well, the miniseries, Boba Fett miniseries has been announced for Disney+.
Yep.
So, we're not going to get into the miniseries and what the miniseries could mean, but what that means for Mandalorian.
Yep.
Does this mean that Boba Fett is not going to be in the rest of Mandalorian? Is his story going to be explained in the miniseries and not Mandalorian at all?
And will that be where he gets his armor?
Right. How he loses his armor, does he give away his armor? Does he have anything to do with the rest of Mandalorian at all?
Does he have any interest in his old armor?
Right. Does he just want to give that life up? Is he just living as a hermit now?
I mean, personally, I think we all can agree that we want to see him in his old armor
yes.
because he's, very famously known as the most BA action hero ever, but barely showcased in actual action. So, yeah.
Exactly.
So I highly doubt they would show him without his armor in a miniseries.
Yes. I hope that they
It's just
do.
a question of when will he get it? Will he get it? Will it be in The Mandalorian? Will he have any other part in The Mandalorian? So many questions.
Yeah, and
I think that they did that
do
perfectly.
you
just
want,
in my opinion.
and my question for you and myself is, do you want Boba Fett to be in The Mandalorian more, or are you just okay with him going off on his miniseries?
I think I'd be okay with both. I can see both working just fine. Personally, I would like to see him in the Mandalorian.
Mhm.
I would really like to. Excuse me. I also don't think that they should make him more of a hero or even an
Yup,
anti-hero
I agree.
character. I would personally like to
Revenge
keep
plot.
him as either A, revenge plot, or B, the Imperial is dead. The
Empire.
the Empire is
The
dead.
Imperials,
Yeah. The Empire is dead. He was always a hired gun for the Hutts, but he also lent himself out to the
Yep.
Empire,
Yep.
right? Because of how that works. So is he gonna side with that, the remnants of it, or is he gonna go off on
Moff
his own?
Gideon, right? Is he gonna go to Moff Gideon and be
But
like,
Either way, I'm not really worried how they do it.
Yeah, I think
In that retrospect, in retrospect,
I think if they were to do it too, I think Jon Favreau might be doing the miniseries. I don't know. That line of information might be out, or it might not be out, so I don't know. I just hope he
either
does.
way, what I'm trying to get at in that really long, drawn out explanation is, I'd love to see him in the Mandalorian series. Either way, I don't want him to be a hero. I want him to continue to be the really awesome villain
Yes.
that we've loved since 1983.
Just wrecking people and killing
Like-
people, shooting people.
Yeah, Stone Cold. Like that's who we always known him
Stone
to
Cold
be.
Killer,
Like,
bounty. He just wants his bounty. He
and
wants his
add
money.
that character in with the Stone Cold Killer. Like, obviously, don't make him two-dimensional, but like, he's
Yeah.
Boba Fett. He's the fearless bounty hunter. Like, I don't want to see a whole turnaround story. Just my opinion, though. So that's what I thought. What do you think?
I completely agree with you. I don't want to see a turnaround story as well. Again, like you said, I'm very split. I don't know if I want him in the show or not. I want to see him in his armor again, whether it be before he gave it away or not. Like, how long did he keep the armor after he got out?
Mhm.
Like, was it a recent? Like, it doesn't really explain in the first
Doesn't
episode
explain anything.
how long that the marshal has had his armor. Like, was that? And technically, that's
Well-
like right after the fall. So
We could calculate it. I mean, real quick. So he said that very night that the second Death Star fell, they partied, and the slave traders came in,
He
right?
ran away
And
for
so-
a couple of nights.
For a couple of
He
nights.
was starving.
So we could say, let's even be generous. Let's give him
A
a
week.
week.
Yep.
Let's say it was a week, just running, and towards the end of the week, the Jawas found him.
Mhm.
So
Maybe he was with the Jawas for a day or so.
right. So either
Then his
way,
travel back might have been a day or so.
right. So let's go back and calculate. And if anybody knows officially, comment. But Return of the Jedi is when Boba fell into the Sarlacc pit.
Yep.
Right. So that was from that scene to the end was, I don't know, what do you think? A few days, a few weeks, something like that. Yeah, at least a few days.
So
And then the Empire ended. So that being said, Boba, if we're theorizing, which we'll make a theory video, I think it'd be good.
yes.
But Boba, within those next few days, lost the armor somehow. Which,
Or gave it away.
or,
depending on what
well, if he was in the Sarlacc pit, yeah, he could have given it away, or he was so exhausted that the Jawas took it off of him and left him for dead.
Yeah.
And within those
Yeah.
next few days, that all happened, and then he got the armor. So, doesn't explain why he didn't go back for the armor right away, but it might explain where it went. But we don't know. It's different video for another time, different episode for another time, right? So,
Exactly.
I think that pretty much wraps it up.